Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current cultural and social issues through a clinical lens. Hello, hello. All right. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we appreciate your time, and we are going to get right after it today. I'm going to start with this: up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, select, start. If you know what that is, first of all, you're old like me. And if you don't, well, you probably should know what that is, because it's like one of the coolest passcodes ever in the history of Nintendo. I believe it was Nintendo. There was a game that gave you a cheat. Well, today I'm going to do similarly. I'm going to give you a cheat. Now, it's not a cheat that is like going to give you infinite access to lives on a video game. No, but it is going to give you the ability to make time. Make time. We can't make time. We all have limited time, right? Kind of. Okay. There are some things that you can do to cheat, to gain a sense of time. Now, you're like, oh, you said a sense, so you can't actually gain time. Well, when we look at things in different ways, oftentimes it changes the way in which we experience it. That matters when it comes to time, right? So for instance, if you are ever in a situation where you have been out of control because your environment or somebody or something around you has made you completely out of control, like you cannot control your facilities, your body, if you're a football player and you take that blind hit and all of a sudden your body's flying through the air and you're like, whoa. And then, like in those moments, time takes on a totally different perception. So if we, as in the mental health world, if what we can do is gain access to that inner sense of control, because remember, control of the external is a complete myth, but the control of the internal is not. Now, there are times where the internal is, you are not going to have the control that you wish you would have. But I'm going to teach you a way today in the next few minutes to conquer that for the most part. Now, there are going to be exceptions, of course, but try it, see what you think. Let me know what you think. So this is really in particular for people who think they are running out of time or they want their time to have more meaning. If that's not you, just check out now, go on. But if you want to have a better sense of who you are in this world and gain access to controlling your internal clock so that you can make the good things last longer in your mind. And, you can filter out the things that are unhealthy much more rapidly. Well, here, this one's for you. So let's start with what is time. Time is, people say time is a constant. Time is a constant the way that we have been taught to look at time. But time is not a constant in a different frame of thinking. I'll give you an example. There are two types of time that I'm going to talk about. And I've talked about these before, so this part isn't new. All right. The first one is Chronos time. That's your constant. The clock keeps ticking 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, and so on and so on. And it goes on and on. 1 day, 1 day, 1 day, 1 week, 1 week, 1 week, 1 month, 1 month, 1 month, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so those are Chronos time markers. If we are using Chronos time markers, there is a limitation. Now, we all share the same Chronos time markers. That is a constant. But in the Chronos time, there is the ability to think, whoa, what happened to that 1 hour? It felt like a minute. How does that happen? Well, there's another timeline. It is called Kairos time, event to event to event. And certain events are more stimulating or less stimulating. Certain events are, going to stick in your mind harder, or some will be softer, right? So what we want to do is gain access to controlling the Kairos time part of our existence, which means doing important things. When we do important things, the timeline, the Chronos timeline, doesn't matter nearly as much. So what are those important things? Look, what they are for me might be different than what they are for you. So that part is not up to me to tell you. But what I can tell you is that you absolutely can gain time by looking at Kairos time differently. All right, I'll give you an example. In The Miracle of Mindfulness, there's it's a book. There is this story, and I love this story. This story goes, it's two friends talking, and one says to the other, he goes, you know, I used to look at time different. And the other goes, oh yeah, well, how's that? And he goes on, he says, I used to look at time in terms of segments. There was time for my son, and time for my wife, and time for my daughter, and time for my friends, and time for this, and time for that, and time. And it was broken up into segments on the Chronos clock. And then he said, but I've learned to look at it different. And as a result, I have gained so much time. So how did he look at it? He said he went from segments, like little chunks of time for this, time for work, time for play, time for school, time for this, to it's all my time. When I'm with my son or daughter, that's my time with my son or my daughter. When I'm at work, that's my time at work. And he started viewing it as he was an integral part of the equation. These other things didn't exist outside of him. They were part of his existence. Now, that sounds kind of silly, but put it into practice, and what he is essentially doing is shifting his mindset, saying, if I don't want to do this with my son, what would I prefer to do in its place? Kairos time. It's the idea of saying, I am going to create an event, and I'm going to go from one event to the next. And sometimes those events may start on a clock or end on a clock, but they are still events. Now, as a therapist, one of the things that I love about my work is even when I start on a clock, which unfortunately, I kind of wish I didn't have to do this. And if you've been a client of mine, you know I mean this. I don't like starting and stopping on a clock. It's part of what needs to happen in this particular setting because the world around me functions on the Chronos time. But when I get wrapped up in a conversation with somebody that I love and I care for, here's the funny thing. I can lose track of time. I have to work to pay attention to Chronos time, which is weird and backwards for a lot of people. A lot of people love that. I love having this agenda, A, B, C, D, and this, and at the end, I'm going to go home and then I'm going to do A, B, C, D there. And then I don't function like that, nor do I think that is the healthiest way to function. I know there are limitations within our society, within our culture, which, by the way, is really new-ish, right? It used to be the Chronos time would be day to day. Now it's moment to moment, which is really weird because our systems are probably, frankly, when you look at transgenerational patterns, our systems are probably still adjusting to the fact that we've gone from day to day, week to week, or season to season to moment to moment. It's a consumption culture. And so the mindset of going to Kairos time, of making it event to event to event, is just odd. It's just it's becoming a foreign concept to the way in which the human function is. And honestly, it's a little bit sad because when you go from Kairos time to Kairos time and you use that as your up, down, left, right, that's your cheat, right? When you use that as your cheat, all of a sudden there's a lot more meaningful things that can happen in the day because you're not basing them on a clock. You're basing them on the human experience, event to event. And that's your cheat. That's your cheat, folks. Event to event. It's why, here, I'll give you one more quick story. There was this Buddhist and this apprentice, and they went for a walk, and the apprentice is just tagging along, and there's a lot of rules as the apprentice is learning how to function in the Buddhist culture. And they get to the top of this hill, and that's overlooking this riverbank, and down at the bottom they see a woman, and she's clearly trying to figure out how to cross the water. They can tell. It's really clear, like she's trying to hike up her long dress to try and make sure it doesn't get wet. She's, trying to figure out where's the shallowest spot to cross. She's got a basket, like a picnic basket, and clearly she wants to get across. Well, the Buddhist sees this, and he goes tromping down the hill, looks, scoops up the lady, grabs the basket, and just tromps across the water and sets her in the basket down. And the apprentice is walking along being like, oh my gosh, he's touching a woman. What is like? That was like breaking a bunch of rules. And like, you're not supposed to talk to women. He didn't talk to the woman, but still sets her down. And she's like, oh, thank you so much. I'm trying to get to this picnic. I was trying to figure out how to get across without getting my dress all wet. And I got all this basket of food, and like, I didn't want to spill it. And, and the Buddhist just sits there and waits. And then she says, so thank you so much. And he turns and he walks away. And the apprentice about 30 seconds later says, well, I got to know, why did you do that? When she wanted to cross the water, like, I get that, but we're not supposed to touch women at all. And we're not supposed to communicate with outsiders right now, and all these rules like in place, right? Okay. And the Buddhist simply says, she needed help. I helped. And the apprentice paused, thought about it, and they walked along. And about an hour later, they're still wrapping up their walk. They're still out there. The apprentice says, so I got a question. And the Buddha says, go ahead. Back there, how did you know which rules were the priority? And the Buddhist looked at the apprentice and just said, oh, you're back there still? I'm here now. This is how we get lost, right? So I told you the cheat, and now I gave you an example of how we get lost. We get lost by living in a moment that doesn't belong to now, right? There's an event back there, and he got stuck in that event. And what happened? He lost all that Chronos time. It's gone because he was stuck in an event. It doesn't mean don't learn from your past. It doesn't mean don't ask hard questions. It just means don't get stuck living somewhere where you're not. If a new event comes, live in it. It's Kairos time. Go from event to event and let go of the events that you can no longer control. Learn from them, yes. Get stuck in them, no. If you do this, I can assure you, absolutely, just try to live in Kairos time. Just try it for a week. Go from event to event instead of time to time. Go from event to event, and tell me at the end of your day, you don't have better clarity of the importance that you played in your world. Tell me you don't have a better understanding of where you can grow. Tell me you won't be able to do it, folks. You won't be able to do it because this is your cheat. This is your up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, select, start. Well, that was what it was if you were two players, I believe. I think it was just start if it was one player. That being said, I'm dating myself. You know how old I am. I'm not super young anymore, but use the cheat. Look at time different. Change your mindset. Function in Kairos time for a week. And watch if you end up late on the clock for something, how you handle it will even be different. It really, truly will. Use this cheat, folks, and let me know what you think. Have a great day. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives@protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.